Hey everyone, thank you for joining this week's episode. In this episode, we will be talking competitive shooting with Michael Woodland with MW Tactical. But before we get into this week's episode, I just want to thank you guys for showing up each and every week, downloading, commenting, sharing, everything in between. You guys don't know how much I appreciate it, and just keep supporting because I'm going to keep putting out good content. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. But while you're listening to this episode, go ahead in your podcast player, leave a rating and a review. And you can also share this episode with a friend while you are listening to it. So you don't even have to stop the episode. You just have to go to your podcast player and share the episode with a friend while you're listening to it. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get into this week's interview with Michael from MW Tactical. Hey guys, Avery here with the Skips Tactical Solutions podcast. This week's guest is none other than the Michael Woodland with MW Tactical, also known as Munitions Weapons Tactical. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And today we will be talking about competitive shooting. So, Michael, can you tell the listeners a little more about yourself?
Okay. To briefly give you a quick rundown, retired military, 22 years. Right out of high school, I went straight into the Army, straight infantry. So all 22 years was infantry. Within the last 10 years, 8 years of my military career is when I turned to competition shooting, working at AMU. And that's when the real introduction was brought to me. And ever since then, I've just been on a personal endeavor to try to get better and, do better with various topics within the shooting community, as you can say.
So you're a firearms instructor as well, right?
That's correct.
And where are you located?
Columbia, South Carolina.
Nice.
Yes.
What do they call it? South Kakalaki?
Yeah, I can't get used to that, but it sounds nice. I heard a song with that in it, so South Kakalaki it is.
Can you sing the song for us?
Oh no, my singing abilities are null and void.
All right, so I know you said that you did some time in the Army, right? And
Correct.
What made you, once you retired, actually start in the gun community?
Well, actually, to put it honestly, back in 2014, Munitions Weapons Tactical was formed. And when I first started, it was just, firearms instruction. That's all it was. And then I was just doing competition shooting on the side. I really wasn't publicizing it. I was just doing that for personal enjoyment. And of course, you sit there, you start thinking about other things you want to do. And I decided to mix it up a little bit, talk about me doing competition shooting, but at the same time, go ahead and give tips and all that with shooting, combine the two, because of course, when people come to look for you, they're looking for a reference point. And it's easy for anybody to say, oh yeah, I'm in the military. But if I actually show pictures and video of me shooting, that kind of backs up like, okay, you are a firearms instructor.
Yeah. So you've been doing Munitions Weapons Tactical for 4 years now, right?
Correct. Be 5 years in March.
Nice. So would you say it's going well?
It's going pretty well. Pretty well.
Okay, so you talked about what got you into the gun community and starting your business, but what made you start the competitive side of it?
If you know me, I'm just a competitive person. All right. So let's back it up a little bit. While I was in the Army, I was working at the combative school, United States Army Combative School. And, like how they do trade off with training. Just like if you was in high school, you was working at McDonald's,
Mm-hmm.
like Wendy's or Domino's Pizza, y'all are trade food instead of eating, all the food where you work at. So it's sort of like that in the military where other organizations will come to you and say, yeah, we got open seats. Do you want to send a couple other people over there? And this happened with Homeland Security. So they had a couple open seats. They came over to the combative school and said, yo, do y'all have any instructors that y'all want to send through the course? And 2 of us volunteered for it. And we went over there for that whole week and we did the training. And part of that training was doing a competition, a USPSA competition. And the instructor was putting it in everybody's mind like, you think you can do one thing with a firearm, but in reality, you're not as good as you think you are without that constant practice. And of course, when we all did the competition realm of it, it shook everybody. You know? Yeah. The power factor is you can either shoot minor or major, and that's all in the scoring aspect of it. And I started doing the math so I could figure out what bullets I need to get so I can stay in the major power factor of everything.
Nice. So you mentioned USPSA. So can you explain to the individuals who are listening, what's the difference in that and IDPA?
Okay, so to keep it as simple as possible, USPSA allows you to run the gun as hard as you can, as fast as you can. IDPA allows you to do the same thing, but from a concealed standpoint. But you get gigged if you're not shooting behind cover, if your magazines touch the ground and they still got bullets in the magazine. Whereas IDPA, you can do a reload and have a half a magazine and you don't get gigged on it. Right. So the only way you get gigged in USPSA is if you step outside of the line or you do something that gives you an advantage outside of the rules.
So out of the two, which one do you prefer?
Me personally, I prefer USPSA.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a lot more fun. It's a lot more challenging, but in my opinion, but in the aspect of it, it's just the competition realm of everybody is trying their hardest to get the more perfect shot in the less amount of time.
So if there's someone who is looking to get into competitive shooting, which one do you think would be better for them to start with and maybe have a good experience?
It all depends on the person's mindset. So if you're somebody who is looking to do concealed carry, IDPA will probably be the better format for you to tackle, and then of course, if you want to get more practice, because, they actually do in most cities a competition match probably once a month, unless you travel around in the local area and you can pan it out to be every week. So if it's somebody who's new into firearms and they're just looking at it for, I want to conceal carry, I want to practice, I want to train, IDPA will be the perfect resource for that. But if you're just in it for the sport aspect of it, USPSA might be the better realm for you.
So what would you say is a resource for individuals to find different matches that are in their area?
You got your local gun shops, your local gun clubs, and then you also have USPSA.org. You can go there, or IDPA.com, I think it is, or IDPA.org, one of those two. But there's a lot of forums that you can find on Facebook as well, or just do like a Google search for whatever topic you're looking for. And then it has forums that talk about it and like break it down for how easy it is to get into it, what you should bring, what's going on in certain areas. And, a lot of people do charity events for shooting sports as well.
So I'm glad that you brought up equipment because I was going to ask you about that next. So getting into competitive shooting, what's some staples for equipment that you need?
Well, first of all, you're going to need a sturdy belt, a reliable holster.
Are you sure they don't need a belt from Walmart?
No, the Walmart belt will work, but it will not be ideal, you know what I'm saying? Because of course, the more you use it, it's going to stretch out and then you get the floppy effect.
Yeah.
But the sturdier the belt, the better, So when I first started out with competition shooting, I was using my everyday belt and my outside the waistband holster, and then of course I had 3 magazines going through that same belt. Of course, through experience and you start doing your research and talking to people and you're looking to see what everybody else have, I slowly progressed up to what I have right now.
So what is it that you have now?
It's called the Ghost Holster. So if you go to any website, I can't think of one right offhand, but if you just type in Ghost Holster or AA, you can get the holster, the belt, and 3 magazines for like a reasonable price, like under $150 or something like that. And it's made up for your gun specifically, and it's just the rig is designed for competition shooting.
So say I wanted to get into competition shooting. What advice would you give to me as someone new embarking in competition shooting?
First of all, I will honestly say I will see where your level of proficiency is with firearm safety. All right, because if you when you go do competition shooting, that is not where you want to learn firearm safety, right? Because as soon as
You
you
get
do
tackled?
anything, oh man, wow, they would kick you off the range so fast. But no, in all seriousness, they are very stringent on the rules. All right, so like if you break the 180, you're disqualified. You can't shoot that competition for the rest of the day. And if it's a 6-stage course and you got disqualified on stage 2, hey, that's a wrap. You just got to come back next month. You know, um, a few months ago, I got DQ'd on the first stage, and it was a 7-stage course.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So, but it happens.
So what got you DQ'd, if you don't mind sharing?
Yeah, the RO stated that I broke the 180.
Okay.
Right, and of course, I tried to argue it, but nobody was coming to my defense. You know, and I can understand how it is at times, but it's also the angle of what people looking at it. So if somebody says something, it's better if somebody else saw it from a different angle, and then once they talk, they can actually say, okay, look, this is what I saw. And it's like deliberated on a civil platform instead of two people just bumping heads.
Nice. So how often do you shoot in matches?
Right now I try to do every week, but the only thing that stops me from shooting every week is if there's other engagements I have to go to. For one, SHOT Show, that was just a few weeks ago, and the other event is if I have my daughter. So if it's the weekend I get my daughter, I do nothing shooting related. It's just me and her.
So how often do you go to the range and just get quality training in, other than doing the competitive shooting? Or do you do most of your range time with competitive shooting?
No, well, I mix it up. So there's a major match coming up in March. So right now I'm going to the range about 3 times a week, but majority of my training is dry fire. So I do a lot of that at home anyway. And I'm about to start recording and videotaping me doing dry fire practice so other people can get ideas of what they can do to become better versus just sitting there pulling the trigger.
I think that's a really good idea.
Oh, yeah. I think it is because the form of just sharing what you do to get better, somebody else can take something you do and either add to it or take away from it to make it ideal for them.
Yeah,
Mhm.
nice. You'll have to let me know, and I'll definitely make sure that I check it out.
Okay, I'll definitely do that.
Okay, so I want to ask you, what's your most memorable moment at a match?
Oh man, that happened to me or just me being there?
Just it doesn't have to happen to you, just memorable moment.
Okay, so the most memorable moment of a situation that took place during the match was the guy was so excited because they give you the command, "Are you ready? Make ready. Are you ready? Stand by," and then the timer goes off. And like in the military, when somebody's so nervous when somebody higher ranking talking to them, and they just say something like in the total left ball field, like,
You're
what are you
like,
talking
hi,
about?
sir, is like, oh, that's a lady. I mean, ma'am.
Yeah. So the guy had asked the guy, he was like, make ready. And then the guy started loading his gun and then started shooting the targets. And then it was like, whoa, 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 stop, stop, stop. And it was just, that was his first match. Adrenaline was pumping, but he heard one thing compared to what was said to him. So that's one weird thing. And then another weird situation was one day I was at the range shooting, and when I was walking up, because I was next to shoot, somebody just ran up on me and just gave me a hug. And I was like, oh, what is this about? I don't know if somebody was setting me up to try to break my concentration or if that was legit, but we all laughed about it. And, it was a fun day.
So, I mean, did you ever find out who the person was that gave you a hug?
This was down in Georgia, and I seen her from time to time, but we used to like just joke around with her,
Mm.
you know. So it really wasn't anything like, yo, let's go to dinner, you know.
It was like a good luck hug.
It probably was, and you know me, I'm a very sarcastic person. I joke around with a lot of people, so at that point in time, I probably said something that made somebody laugh or whatever, and they just took it to heart, you know.
You're sarcastic?
I'm
I would
very
have
sarcastic.
never known.
Oh man, trust me. What you see on camera and what you hear on the podcast, no, trust me.
Oh, God.
Yeah, you will be surprised. I like to make everybody laugh. I like to have a good time.
Nice.
Mm.
So when it comes to competitive shooting, what are some of your goals?
Right now, my goal in 2019 is, for one, to get on somebody's shooting team, and number two, reach the classification of an A-class shooter by December of 2019.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when it comes to a shooting team, is there one in particular that you want to get on?
Right now, my desire is to get on the Walther shooting team.
Okay, so everybody listening, make sure that we go out and we support this, and we're going to have to help. We're going to have to encourage.
Hey, what I want everybody to do, if I can get 20,000 people to write Walther and say, put Michael Woodland on your shooting team.
All right, guys, you heard that. We're all going to write. Phone a friend, have them write too, and let Walther know to put Michael on their shooting team. They won't regret it.
That is it right there.
All right, so you're looking to get on a shooting team and you're looking to upgrade your class. Mm-hmm. So you're working pretty much just about every day of the week, right, towards that, because you're doing dry fire, you're going to the range often, and then you're doing constant matches.
Correct. So the way my week looks, totally, it goes like this. I'll wake up in the morning, I'll work out, right? And then I'll sit down and I'll do some content, regardless if it's podcast, the Black Man with the Gun podcast, or content for the M-W Tactical channel that you can find on YouTube or Gunstreamer. Then I'll go to the gym and I'll do an hour of jiu-jitsu. Then I'll come back home and then I'll do a little bit of dry fire. Then I'll work on some more content. Then I'll call my daughter. And then if there's anything else I got to do, like an interview or a show, I'll do that. And then when I get finished, I'll do some more dry fire. And then after that, if I'm not too wore out, depending on that workout day, I will either do some more exercises at home or just relax, depending on where I'm at and what's going on with me.
So let me just go ahead and say that I'm very jealous of that retired life.
Hey, you said you got what, like 6 years before you get there?
No, do not put that bad juju on me. I have 4 years and like 4 months left.
Oh man, okay. I'm gonna write a book and I'm gonna call it the Starter Kit and I'm gonna pass it off to you.
Okay. I'm like, okay, so I wake up, I work on some content. Because right now I'm like, oh my God, where am I gonna squeeze time to work on this, this, and this? And you're like all laid back, like, yeah, I just work on some content. I go to the gym.
So like when you see me posting stuff on Instagram, majority of the time, if I'm not asleep, because I'll go to sleep about 8 or 9 or something like that. Mm-hmm. I'll wake up at 2 or 3 in the morning, and then I start doing my content, take another nap, and I'll wake up about 4 or 5. Then that's when I get up and just start doing everything.
So you're like a little baby night owl.
Sort of, because my brain is always active. So, you know, people with active brains, it's kind of hard to go to sleep because you'll just wake up in the middle and like, oh, I got this idea. Let me jot this down, or let me just do this, you know?
Yeah. So I like how you tried to slide in there that you're on the Black Man with a Gun podcast. So Go ahead and tell everyone how you're on the Black Man with a Gun podcast and what you do.
Okay. So if you're listening and you're familiar with the Black Man with a Gun podcast, I am the one who do the tips and review segment on the Black Man with a Gun podcast. So the way that started was back in 2014, Ken Blanchard, he actually reached out to me to do an interview. 6 months later, he hit me up and stated he wanted me to be a part of the show. And I was like, okay, cool. It sounded easy at first, you know? So just talking with him, I'm like, oh yeah, I can do that all day. And then when I started doing it, and I was like, after 4 or 5 hours, now I got like 6 minutes of content. And I was like, yo, man, this is a little bit more difficult than what I thought it was going to be. And, of course, he talked me through a lot of stuff. And, he just stated, just take your time, and there's nothing guaranteed that you have to do this. So I was like, all right, cool. Now I'm like 2.5, 3 years later, I'm still there.
So how many episodes do you think that you've done with him?
Wow. He's at episode 600 right now. I remember they made a big forecast of 500. So I want to say within that 100 episodes, I probably was on 90 of those episodes. And now if we was to take the other 50, and I would say I was probably on 40 of those episodes. So I want to say if you take the time I've been on there to now, more than likely, I'm on 95% of the episodes that was out there.
Nice. Well, congratulations. And so the reason why I wanted to bring that up is because if you listen to my last week's episode, I actually interviewed Ken Blanchard, who is the host of the Black Man with a Gun podcast. And I listened to the Black Man with a Gun podcast for about a month. And I'm a podcast junkie. And so I was trying to consume as many episodes as I could. And so I listened to them, and they inspired me to start my own podcast. Although my podcast is nowhere near their level, I definitely was inspired to do great things like they are. So he tried to sneak it in there like it wasn't a big deal. Like, oh yeah, I'm on the Black Man with a Gun podcast. Like, what?
Let me tell you what took place with me at last year's NRA show. I'm walking around, and remember when we had the conversation about people putting the camera in your face?
Yeah.
So this is what threw me off balance. I'm walking around the NRA show, and within 10 or 15 minutes of me leaving one booth, like 5 people stopped me and wanted my picture. And I'm like, okay, cool. Take a picture. So we take the picture. And then right before we walk off, I was like, so where do you follow me at? And then it was like, Black Man with a Gun. And I was like, oh, cool. And then after that is, hey, where's Ken? And I was like, oh, okay, cool. That's cool. So now every time I go someplace, it's either Black Man with a Gun, or Instagram or Facebook.
Nice.
So get used to it. So
are you used to it now, to where when you're out somewhere and people are like, oh, can I get a picture? Or, hey, I follow you?
It's funny to say. I don't think I will ever get used to it because of the training I had in the military and the defensive posture that I always keep when I'm looking at people. So of course, like when I'm at SHOT Show or NRA or some type of convention like that, when people look at me, I got to hold myself back and let them talk to me first before something's said. Now, when I'm out like in the city of Columbia, and I had a friend that I had to take to the airport today, and we was sitting there eating before she got on the plane, and she was like, that guy just took a picture of you. And I was like, yeah, it happens all the time, because either one, he recognizes me, or two, I look like somebody who he might think I am, but he's going to go back later on and research. I said, you really never know unless they come talk to you.
Yeah.
But, it's just something you have to get used to, once you become a public figure like that.
I know the first time I ever had someone walk up to me and say, oh, hey, I follow you. They're like, hey, Skip. And I'm like, hey. I'm like, oh my God, am I supposed to know who this is? And they're like, hey, I follow you on Instagram. And I'm like, oh, hey, how are you? But it just always throws me, because it's like, oh, hey. And it's like, hey. But, being aware of your surroundings and seeing people that may be staring, or like you said, taking a picture, sometimes it's just kind of uneasy.
It is. And you have to put it in perspective with your message. So depending on what's going on with me, I give out my phone number so people can actually text or call me. And people actually take me up on that. Like they'll literally call me like, 10, 11 o'clock at night. I'll talk to somebody for a little bit. You having a problem? Okay, let's talk.
Yeah.
Because I understand if people are going through stuff, in the military, we have our challenges we have to go through, and we had a shoulder we had to, lean on every now and then. So
Preach.
yeah, so I can be that same shoulder to anybody who wants my advice or wants me to give them an ear or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, that's great. And I hear on your segment of the Black Man with a Gun podcast, you normally say, for them to reach out to you, and if you don't answer, shoot a message, and that you'll get back to them. So that's awesome.
Oh yeah. So that's one of my things is anybody who takes the time to reach out to me, I would take the time to reach back out to them.
Yeah, I definitely try to do that as well. Sometimes I do have to apologize because I do still work full time, and sometimes the DM just be popping, and it's like, oh my God, like I didn't because if you press on it, then you kind of, it says that you've read it, but maybe you didn't really get to read it and get to respond to it. So I do try to respond to everything.
Yeah. So normally what I do is if somebody writes me, because it's kind of annoying, like when I'm looking at something and I see a message and that just bugs me. So sometimes I'll open it up, take a mental note of like, okay, I got to contact this person back. But it might be like 6-7 hours later once I get finished doing whatever I'm doing, and then I'll hit them back up and be like, yo, my apologies. I saw that you wrote earlier, but if you want to call me, let's talk, or just start a conversation right there.
I want to say Trench Work Chronicles reached out to me, right?
Mm-hmm.
I had to dig deep into my DMs. Like I knew they reached out, and I'm like, I said I was going to get back to them. And it was like months of DMs that I had to go through. And so finally I was able to get back to them. And I was like, hey, I'm sorry. Like, it took me a while to even find this message, but I definitely wanted to get back in touch with you. So I do try to respond to everyone, but I tell people, every now and then it may slip through the cracks. So if I'm not timely with my response, feel free to reach back out.
Yeah. The whole thing is when people contact you, they know you're busy. You know what I'm saying? So they won't so much hold it against you. It's just our personal pride of how we are, because I know I'm a person of my word. If I tell you I'm going to do something, you can expect it to happen.
Yeah.
But the thing is, people outside of my network or my level of friends or family, they don't know that, so, and when you actually reach back out to them, that means a lot to that person.
Yeah. Because I know I've reached out to people before and they respond, and I'm like, oh my God, they responded. Like I never thought they were going to respond.
Right.
I have like a slight groupie moment, and I'm like, oh my God. And then I have to reel it back in like, okay, they responded. Now you have to respond.
Now I can actually say the one person who caught me off balance, and I try to keep my composure, even that excitement moment, was at SHOT Show. I was with Ghost, and he had called my name, turned around, and Julie Galab was standing right there, right? And that was like the one moment I was like, hey, how's it going? So I was like, kind of like, wasn't prepared for that to take place.
So she was the one person at SHOT Show that I wanted to meet. Like out of everybody, she was the one. And I remember I saw her just walking by one day, and I was like, oh, wow, there she is. And then I saw her again when I saw her at a party, and, we spoke, and I was like, oh my God, like she knew who I was. And then the next day, I think it was, or the day after, I was walking by, I think it was a Smith & Wesson booth, and she was there doing like a little video or whatever. So I waited until she was done doing her video, and I was like, hey, do you mind if I take a picture with you? And she was like, sure. And then I took the picture and was like, oh, I really appreciate it, and like darted off.
Yeah.
But yeah, she was the one person that I really wanted to meet.
Yeah. So she's the team captain of the Smith & Wesson shooting team, and she used to be in the Army also.
Yeah, I had saw that.
Yeah, she shot at the marksmanship unit, so she was doing competition shooting when she was in the Army also.
So I didn't know that the Army actually had a competitive shooting team.
I honestly want to say all branches have one. But I do know the Army funnels a lot of money into the marksmanship unit
Nice.
because, they actually send people to the Olympics, along with Team USA
Wow.
and everything. So, you got the shotgunners that go to the Olympics, and then you got the air rifle team that go to the Olympics. Um, I don't think they do anything with archery over there. I think everything over there is just marksmanship. But I know the Marines, they have a smaller version of like the marksmanship unit. And I'm not certain how the Air Force works, but I want to say it was a couple years ago. I saw them like at a sniper competition. Like I guess it'd be like their version of the MPs, I guess. I'm not really certain of the makeup of the Air Force.
Yeah.
But I want to say I saw an Air Force unit at the sniper competition a couple years ago.
Air Force holding it down.
Hey, that's what it is. Yeah, but it's just a matter of doing the research, and
Yeah.
and once you do the research and you find it, if you're in the service, hey, do what you can to try to get as much out of it as you can.
Yep, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so if there is one person that you could reach out to right now and let them know how much you appreciate them, who would it be?
That one person, can it be two?
You know what, for you? Yes.
All right. So if it had to be two people that I can reach out to and appreciate everything they've done for me, it would be my father and my grandmother.
Nice.
So both of them passed away, and my father was my best friend, but my grandmother was my number one lady. So at this point in my life, when I was a teenager, growing up in Virginia, it was pretty rough, and I was contemplating dropping out of school because my family I was the oldest grandchild, so I was kind of shielded on a lot of stuff, so I could do no wrong pretty much.
Yeah.
And I was pretty spoiled, and I was thinking about dropping out of school. My grandmother told me, well, if you drop out of school, you got to leave. You can't live here. you know. So I was like, oh wow. And then my father, he taught me like just life lessons as a man, and everything between my grandmother and my father, it made me the person I am today.
Nice. So, is there any last things that you would like to share with the people that are listening to the podcast?
Okay, I'm gonna make it easy for everybody. If you want to follow me, you can follow me on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and Gunstreamer. And you can go to www.m-wtactical.com. If you click on media links, you'll see everything I'm associated with. And throughout the website, there are links where you can click on the Instagram and Facebook and follow me there. The projects that I'm working on, I got a GoFundMe for law enforcement training. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to put 3 officers in jiu-jitsu training for a year at no cost to the officer or the police department. So they're going to go to, in Columbia, South Carolina, they're going to go to the gym that I go to, and they're going to get the military discount. So one person for a year equals up to like $1,240. So that's $90 a month. And then I think the charge of the gi is something like $170, $160, but it comes out to $1,240. Right. So we're trying to put 3 people in. So when you're looking at the GoFundMe, I don't make any money off of this. This is me looking at a situation saying, hey, this is what I think these police officers need, so they're not resorting to pulling out their gun at the first instant.
Yeah.
They can actually use training to resolve a situation. Because I honestly believe if you're in shape and if you know how to use your body as a tool, versus as using the firearm as the tool for the first means of resolution, you'll be able to talk it out. You're going to think more clearly, and you're going to be more well-rounded. So that's one project that I'm pushing right now. And if you want to contribute to that, it's gofundme.com/LEO training all together. gofundme.com/LEO training. Everything else I do, you can follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and just look up either Munitions Weapons Tactical or M-W Tactical.
Are you still offering That if people reach out to you and want you to come train with them, that you'll come and train with them?
Yes, yeah. Anybody want me to come to the area? I'm more than willing. If you want me to come shoot a competition with you, shoot me a message, and if it fits my schedule, I will figure out a way to get to you and shoot that competition match with you. If you want me to come do a training course, in your area, I can do that too. So you can email me for details and we'll work it all out and put it into motion.
Well, Michael, it was amazing talking to you today about competitive shooting. Competitive shooting is something that I really don't have any background in. I've had a lot of people say that I should probably try to get into competitive shooting because regardless, it's going to help you with your skill, but I just don't really have a lot of extra time. But once I get on your level, I will.
So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to come down to Florida. And one weekend, hopefully you don't have anything going on. And I'm going to talk to your kids and your husband. I'm going to be like, yo, all I need is about 3 hours. Drag you out the house kicking and screaming. Going to throw that belt on you. Going to put that timer up to your ear and watch you shoot some targets.
Nice.
Yeah.
I think that'd be fun.
Oh, yeah. So, like I said, we'll plan it out one day. I want to get down there before it gets really hot in the summertime and just have some fun and introduce you to competition shooting.
Yeah. So thank you so much for joining us today, enlightening us on competition shooting. And I think we would just like to do a follow-up episode with you, maybe in a few months or so, to see how close you are to your goal and if there's been any changes.
Okay, sounds good. I'm always here and I'm always open. So you got my number, you got my email. So just hit me up anytime you like.
All right, guys, so go ahead and make sure that you head over to m-wtactical.com to reach out to Michael and follow him on all of his social links to keep connected with him. Thanks for joining, Michael.
Hey, no problem. Thank you for having me.
All right, bye-bye. All right, so I want to say thanks again to Michael with MW Tactical for joining us on this week's episode. And another quick little nugget is I want to read this week's review of the week. So as I've stated previously, each week I will take time to read a review that has been left in your podcast player. So go ahead, leave Skip's Tactical Solutions podcast a 5-star rating and review, and your review could be read next. So this week's review of the week is in iTunes, and the review is from Tom Boy, and it has a 5-star rating. And he said, "What I like about this podcast is the massive potential it has. The channel is still fairly new and more content continues to come out. So far, the content has had great little nuggets of knowledge. The show has got character and easy to listen to while on the road. I know Skip professionally, and let me just say that her wealth of knowledge on the subject matter is vast. By listening to this podcast, I've learned a new thing or two and can't wait to hear more. Keep them coming." So what I want to say is thank you to Tom Boy, and I really appreciate you taking the time out to leave the rating and the review and to just let people know that you do know me professionally. And I don't have a lot of people that know me on that other professional level that are speaking up, so I do appreciate you doing that. And if there's anything that you ever want to hear, please let me know and I will try my best to cover that subject. All right, so like I said, don't forget to leave your rating and review, and your review could be read next. And another little thing I want to cover is if you are a female and you are embracing the 2A lifestyle, Second Amendment, I would love to feature you for my Women Who Carry Wednesday feature. So every Wednesday, I do a Women Who Carry Wednesday post, and it's just highlighting women in the Second Amendment community that are out there getting things done each and every day. So shoot me a message and let me know if you would like to be featured. And if you're not following me on Instagram, Facebook, or YouTube, make sure that you go ahead and do that. Go ahead and subscribe to the YouTube channel, which is Skip's Tactical Solutions. And you can find me on all platforms at Skip's Tactical Solutions. And just head over to the website and see what we have. We have a lot of amazing products on our website, so you can head to our website and purchase something from there. And while you're there, you can check out the upcoming classes. So don't forget to tune in to next week's episode, and I can't wait to talk to you guys.